Welcome to Heal the World Show podcast, brought to you by the Healing Institute. I'm Permilia Parham, and I'm the founder and the CEO of the Healing Institute. We are a worldwide online hub of holistic practitioners, and we are out to help with health and healing for the whole world. Our amazing practitioners really get to the root cause of what's going on with whatever your needs are and what you need for health and healing in the world. And so I really truly believe that that's what is important now because our medical model that we've had for over 50 years is not really working as well as we'd like it to. And my belief is it's because we only looked at symptoms. We didn't look at the root cause, what really is going on. So the Healing Institute is a passion of mine. I created it because I was very passionate about educating people around health and healing, and that is why I called it an institute. And we did have a tragedy in our family a number of years ago when my mom passed away at the age of 61. And it was due to complications with her kidneys because she had been on a medication for a very long time. And not once did we ever know that, in fact, her being on this medication for a long period of time would compromise her kidneys. So unfortunately, she died right before Christmas on the 15th of December. I was 5 months pregnant with my son, and I like to say that it's not only a tragedy that she died so young, but my children never got to meet their grandmother, and I just don't want that happening for other families. So that's why I'm really passionate about health and about healing, and we really want to make a difference in the world. So then I created this podcast. And so each week I invite someone to come and talk about their area of expertise. Now, April is World Wellness Month, World Health Month. And actually, tomorrow, we're going to talk about this a bit later, but tomorrow is World Breathing Day, April the 11th. So I've been hosting this podcast now for 2.5 years. Today is actually our 127th episode. And I am just really, really delighted to have Sarah Ann Ertz here as my guest today. Welcome, Sarah Ann. It's lovely to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you, Vermelia. It's great to be here. Great to be with you.
So, as we're talking about health overall, there's we have our physical health, we have our emotional health, we have our spiritual health. We all just need to really be aware of our health. And Sarah Ann has a very unique background. She was with the FBI for 14 years and is coming up to an anniversary, I think, of 10 years where you have left that, but had a lot of learned a lot of lessons as you were as you had that career. And so I thought it would be really, really fascinating and unique to talk about how your FBI career taught you to stop betraying yourself. So let's talk about that. How did that come
Yeah.
about? First of all, I
Um,
want to know how you made the decision to join the FBI. I want to know that first.
yeah. So I joined the FBI when I was 24. And when I was a child, there was a TV show on called Hunter. This was quite some years ago. And it was a man and a woman that were detectives. And in my eyes, this woman, like, she just did not take crap from anybody. Like,
Anybody?
she just, she was amazing. She was my hero. And I think I started watching that show. I was young. I was maybe like 6 or 7 years old, and it was on Friday nights at 9 o'clock. And my parents let me watch it, but they would have to watch it with me because, they would say swear words. And so they'd
Mhm.
have to mute the TV when a swear came on, which now seems silly because the swear words back then were like not even real swear words. But anyway, and so I just, yeah, as a little person, I just grew up thinking like that just always stuck with me. And I'm like, I want to be her. Like, I want to be that like strong woman who just doesn't take it from anybody. And I just had it in my mind. She was not an FBI agent, but I just had that in my mind.
It's so interesting how those type of role models will have such an influence on us,
Hmm.
right? Yeah.
Hmm.
And so as your career, 14 years with the FBI, you did a lot of investigative reporting or investigative um, uh, looking at what all the different types of ways that you need to investigate whatever, right?
Yes.
Um, and so tell us how then how that career taught you to stop betraying yourself.
Yeah. So I realized the I realized how I ended up there. I I was 36 years old, and um, I had found myself just in I had ended a relationship, and I'd never been married. I didn't have children. I still don't have children, and I was like how do I keep ending up here? Like, I really wanted to get married. I really wanted to have children, and I just noticed this pattern that I was having in dating men. And I just, at 36, when I ended that relationship, I just really started really inquiring with myself on, like,
Hmm.
what was it about me that got me here and that kept creating this dynamic with men. And that led to my going to an event 6 months later. And it was at that event where I realized, like, it's almost like that event showed me my life on a movie screen. And I just
It
was
showed
like,
up in your life for a reason. Yes.
completely. And it was at that event where I was like, oh, wow, like, this isn't just about my romantic relationships with men. This is about how I show up to life in with my family, with my friendships, with my work, with everything. And I realized what was really happening, and just the unhealthy things that I had learned as a little person that I just kept repeating and I just kept doing. And a big component of that was just really not giving myself permission to really have needs and to really be able to take care of myself in a way that I needed to be taken care of. So then the world couldn't show up. No one could show up and take care of
Mhm.
me in a way that I needed to be taken care of.
Yes, it's really interesting on those life lessons that we find that do they find us almost in a way that it's and then the timing is always I always love to hear about the timing because that is really important in how you were ready, obviously, when you went to that event. There was something in you that you were ready to then start to look at your life in a different way entirely.
Absolutely.
So now tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing now with people, helping them through transition. Obviously, that was a very powerful transition that you went through. And so when we have those experiences, um, it's always, then we're actually showcasing, we're showing up authentically when we have those experiences, and then we can certainly uh, help other people definitely to because we've already had that experience, so we can be empathetic and know sort of be we're walking in their shoes as well. So tell us now a little bit about your clients that you see and how you help them through their transition. And a little
Yeah.
bit also, because we talked about this before, before we started recording, the transition you're going through right now.
Yes. Yeah. So I feel like I've gone through a handful of really major life transitions. And in the last 10 years, I left the FBI 10 years ago. And in that 10 years, it's really been me diving headfirst into my own healing journey and into my own personal development, my own personal growth. And I mean, I have done so many things to really look at myself and understand, you know, who I am and why I show up the way I do and what's working and what isn't working. And so that has led me through, like, I've had a lot of iterations of self in the last 10 years, and one thing has kind of led to another. And so I've studied a lot of different modalities. I teach yoga, I do shamanic work, I do circles, I do full moon ceremonies, I do sound healing, I do Reiki. I'm involved in a lot of different healing modalities. And through all of that work and how I've kind of landed where I currently am in really mentoring women to really fully step into who they are and help them navigate their own life transitions is really because I can see for myself that through my own journey, I worked with coaches, I worked with therapists, I worked with a lot of different people. And one thing that I was searching for was someone who had the answers that I needed. Like I was searching for these answers and who can help me find the way? Who has found the way that they can then help me find the way? And that never worked really. And what I learned through all of that is that I'm the only one that knows my way,
Yes. Yeah.
right? No one knows the right way for me to do anything, right? And so it was a kind of a twofold learning. Like it was a learning for me of like, okay, I have to stop searching on the outside for things that I can only find on the inside. And then it was a huge learning for me that like I don't know what the answers are for anyone. I don't have answers for anyone. And having gone through a handful of really major life transitions myself, I feel very equipped to guide someone and be a companion and walk beside someone because it is scary to make really big life changes. And the people closest to you that you really want to lean on sometimes are the people that you really can't lean on
Yeah, you know,
when you're making
exactly.
really
Yeah.
big scary changes. And so then you feel very alone and it feels very lonely, and then you fall back into the old ways because it's way too scary to continue on this thing that's really calling for you, but you feels like you're alone and there's no support, and it feels very uncertain and very unsteady and very unstable, and so that doesn't feel good. It's extremely uncomfortable, and so people often just revert back and they don't
Right.
make the transition and they don't make the change because it feels very much like it's your fault and you're creating all of this upheaval when really it's other people's discomfort. It's not things that you have to take on. And so,
And also we need to learn that in order to grow and change, we need that discomfort. We need to
completely.
sit in that discomfort and be with the discomfort, not try to push it away or try to ignore it or have ourselves, not yeah, it's important. It's really very important for us to be sitting in that discomfort and just analyzing what is it and what's happening and doing some meditation and some yoga work and just realizing that first of all, we're very, very strong, capable people, and going inside and looking at what changes need to be made. I mean, intellectually, we know changes need to be made, but from our hearts and our souls and our emotions, we need to, yeah, we need to allow ourselves the time to do that. And we're oftentimes we want it too quickly. We want it just to be over and done with, and then we can get on with our new life. That's not
Absolutely.
that's not the way it
Abs-
works.
it is not the way it works. It is not the way it works. I just, as you shared, I'm in the midst of my another really major life transition right now, and it's incredibly uncomfortable. It's incredibly uncomfortable, and you hit the nail on the head. Like, we want it fast. I just want to be in my new life right now, today. I don't want to have to figure anything out. I just want it to show up and I just want to be in it. And that's not how it works.
So I want to recognize that we have one of our practitioners with us today, Marie Piplovic. She's hailing from Portland, Oregon, and she's a conscious breathing facilitator as well as she's an intuitive coach, and she helps people, women especially, that have been in the corporate world and have found themselves in a burnout situation. So we're always delighted to have Marie as in the background here,
Mm-hmm.
and she always has great questions. So her question is, how do you support these women through the discomfort that they want to run away from?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. The running away. I literally just said that to one of my friends today. I'm like, I've only been here for 3 weeks and I can't tell you how many times I wanted to run away. Um, yeah. So I have a 3 month program that I take people through, and we meet once a week in that 3 months. And I really provide a lot of different tools. And it's really, I like to say that I have created a scaffolding for these
I
12
love that
weeks.
word. I love that
Yes.
word, scaffolding.
Yes. And because it's everyone needs something different, right? And so I have this scaffolding of a structure for how this 12-week program goes, but then I have an assessment, a self-devotion compass is what I call it, that each woman fills out before we actually, like, once they've committed, but before we begin, that's kind of their first thing to take care of. And then from that self compass, or self devotion compass, I gather all of their data and I kind of plug it into the scaffolding that I've created. So each 12-week program is slightly different and it's customized to what each woman is specifically going through within their transition and what they're needing. Because everyone needs something different
Mhm.
and everyone's in the middle of a different type of transition. But really, my philosophy of the 12-week program, the lens that I look at that through is that life is a practice. I teach yoga, and yoga is a practice. And I always share that, if I show up and I do yoga once a month, I'm going to feel that in my body. My body is going to be aware that I'm doing yoga once a month. If I show up and do yoga once a week, my body is going to be
Yep.
aware that I'm doing yoga once a week. And if I show up every day and do yoga, my body is going to be aware that I'm showing up every day and doing yoga. And yoga is very much a practice. You show up
Yes.
and you're in your practice, and it's an ever evolving, ever unfolding practice. Each time you're on your mat, it's a different experience, even though you're doing very similar things. And I feel like life is the same way. And so every week, I give a new practice component. And so it's 12 weeks of really, it's very experiential. And so you're going to be in the practice of your life. And I don't know what the things are that you need to practice, but
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
navigate that and we discuss that as we go through the program. And so every week there's something that you're being in practice of, and you get to decide, do you want to practice that every day? Do you want to practice that one time in the week? Do you want to not practice it at all? I don't know. That's where you get to be the driver of how the experience is going to be for you.
And that is so very important to understand how I love your analogy about with yoga and with life, and how it is a practice. And it
Yeah.
is, things we need to incorporate into our daily life, like our meditation and our yoga. our gratitude journals, the things that we do incorporate into our daily life. That is all a practice. Absolutely. You said something earlier that I just wanted um, to to bring back. You were talking about, or you mentioned that you walk alongside your clients. And I think that is just so profound because as we've all gone through our growing in different ways, to have someone that you can somewhat relate to, but you have someone that you feel they they're supporting you, or scaffolding. Again, I love that term, that they're actually holding you, not interfering with you, not telling you what to do, not, necessarily even directing you, but at least holding you, metaphorically, so that you can then take that time that you need to go inward and determine what is it exactly.
Absolutely.
But
Yep,
what is it exactly that you need? You need to
exactly.
change, you need to grow, you need to develop. Yeah, so I love that whole concept.
Yes. There was a period of time where I worked with people who were at the end of their life. And
Mm,
so they were making their transition
hmm.
was literally transitioning from their human body and their humanness into whatever is next when this body gives out. And in doing that work and in being with people who are truly facing their mortality and who are at the end of their life, that was such a great teacher for me. And it's such an amazing experience, like just truly a blessing to
Hmm.
be invited to be on this journey with people, because it, in my opinion, is the most sacred journey that we will experience in our humanness. And to be with someone, there is nothing to do. There is
Yeah,
nothing to do with there's no telling someone what to do. There is nothing. It
no,
is when you are with someone who is making that transition, you literally are being a space holder and
right.
you are just pouring
You're just
love.
being
You're
with them.
being.
Yeah.
And what I really feel that I experienced the most, because in the work that I was doing, I had worked for a hospice for a time, and some of the patients that I would go and be with, they didn't have, their family didn't, they lived out of state, or
Hmm.
sometimes they didn't have any family, and so they
Hmm.
were there by themselves. And so when those particular patients would start transitioning, we always made it a point to spend time with them,
Yeah.
because we didn't want them to be going through their death journey alone. And what I feel that I experienced, and I'll never know, because I can't have a conversation with this person or these people that I was with, but what I could sense and what I could feel is when I would be with these people as they're dying, this is the point where they're really actively dying and they're no longer conscious. But when I would go and be with them, and sometimes I would sit with them for a couple of hours, it just depended, and you could feel their energy just
Hmm.
relax. Like you
Hmm.
could even see it in their body, like when you would walk in, it's like sometimes their shoulders would really be up, and like their whole body would be clenched and
Hmm.
like really closed. And I could even sense, I could feel like scaredness or some fear,
Hmm.
and I would sit with them. And I've written poetry. I used to send daily love notes to an email list. I did that for 5 years. So I have a lot of love notes. And so I would take those things with me and I would read to them.
Hmm.
And as I would be doing that, and I'd gotten to know these people, I'd been with them for a bit of
Right.
time. So they, and I feel like they knew I was there, and you could just see their whole body relax. And what that really showed me was, like, I didn't need to be doing anything. I just
And
needed to be a presence, and I
hmm.
needed to hold the space so that they could not feel like they had to hold it themselves, so
Yeah,
that they could really
they could let
let
go.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
beautiful.
and that has translated into how I mentor people. Like, I don't really like to even call myself a coach anymore because I don't know your answers and I don't know your way. And I just want to hold the space for you so that you feel supported and so that you can have that space to explore within yourself what your answers are and what your way is, whatever that is.
Because we can often, very often, figure it out ourselves eventually. I had been in many conversations where I was just talking about something, an issue, and all I wanted to do was talk. And the other person was trying to fix it for me. And I was like, just let me talk it out because I think I will figure it out, but I just need to speak it first. I don't need anybody else to fix it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what you're doing with the in the transitioning with people, regardless of what their transition
Exactly.
is you're just holding them and giving them space so that they can do that inside work, that inner work, and then also figure it out for themselves. Because as holistic health professionals, healers, whatever we whatever title we have, um, you're right. We're not doing it for other people. They're doing it for themselves. Marie's got another great question here. Do the women who come to you know what they want? Hmm.
That's a great question. I would say the overarching theme of what they want is an inner peace.
Mhm.
And to
Do they know
really,
that though? Do they know that's inner peace is what they want?
they do know that. They do they feel this like tremendous amount of turmoil. They feel they're very aware that they feel stuck
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know how they've tried. I've tried this, I've tried that, I've gone to therapy, I've been in therapy for 20 years and I'm still stuck in the same place. Like it's like they can't get out of it and they don't understand why they're still stuck in this place. And so it's like they want to get unstuck. They don't really know what that necessarily means, or they don't know how to get
Mm.
unstuck. Like they can't see what is creating the stuckness. Some of them, I would say, are definitely aware that they're avoiding things.
Mm. Yes.
And some of them, when they actually, I've had a few people tell me, I'm very scared to do this and I don't want to do it because I know it's going to be really uncomfortable. And I know that that's why I need to say yes to this.
Yes.
Because, like we shared earlier, it's really looking at yourself and really making shifts, identity shifts, and going through transition, making transition. It is really uncomfortable. And so it is easier. It is definitely easier to avoid and to just pretend it's not a problem and just continue about life. But the women who come to me and are a yes to me, and the work that I do are at the point where while they know it's going to be really uncomfortable and they know it's going to be really painful, the cost of staying
Where they are.
stuck
Yeah.
is too high. It's
Yeah.
reached the point where it's too high and they're no longer okay
They're
with
ready.
that.
They're ready to actually experience that uncomfortableness so that they can move on.
Yeah. And I think too, I do a lot of writing, I do a
Mhm.
lot of speaking, and um and I feel like in conversations with me, I feel like they're, because of all of the things that I have personally experienced, I feel like they can see themselves in a lot
Mhm.
of what I've experienced, like how I talk about it and how I write about it, that they're like, okay, you get it. Like, and you get the discomfort, but you've done it. Like, somehow you've done it. Like, how did you do it? Right? And so they're like, okay, I want a little bit of what you're having. Can you help me? Can you help me get there?
I love that. So Maurice got another question. I wonder if being stuck is just a perception because we always have a choice. It's just something that she ponders.
Yeah, it is true. And I agree, Marie. I think this is one of those philosophical things, and I think the stuckness is having a desire and then not being able to actualize that desire and knowing that you can have that thing, but you've tried and it's not worked out, and so then you just have given up, but there's still this desire and you don't want to give up. I just to give you an example, there are a few women that I have worked with and that I'm currently working with. They're it's the relationship component, and they've experienced a lot of self-abandonment in relationship, and so then they project that it doesn't work. Like, relationship with men doesn't work for me, so I'm just out. Forget about that, because in their experience, relationship means I have to lose myself. My
Yes.
needs, it doesn't matter what I need. My needs become irrelevant. My needs don't matter. And I have to completely give myself over to this other human. And that doesn't work. And I've tried that several times and it doesn't work. And so I'm just going to forget about it. Yet there's this desire for connection and this desire for relationship, and so they don't see a possibility or a way to have connection, to have relationship, and not lose themselves, not abandon themselves in the process. Like, they don't know how to do that. And in working with women, what I find is that not only do they show up to a relationship with men that way, but they show up to their careers that way. They show up to their families that way, right? So how we
Yeah.
do one thing
It's
is
a
how we do
pattern. Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah.
So we have to pick an
How we do
area.
one thing is how we do everything usually.
Exactly. Yep. So we pick an area and it's like, okay, we're going to practice. We're going to practice doing things that are really uncomfortable because they're outside of what we would normally do and how we would normally handle it. But how we normally handle it is what creates that self-abandonment. And so now we're going to stay with ourselves and we're going to choose ourselves and we're going to have boundaries and we're going to create some self-care rules for ourselves, and we're not going to abandon ourselves, and we're going to practice it. And it's hard because it's something that's really wired into our nervous system. So there's a lot of unlearning and relearning and a lot of retraining the nervous system. And the only way that you can do that is in real life practice. And so that's
Practice,
why,
practice, practice, practice. Yes,
yeah, it's the
absolutely.
only way to do it. And so that's why my entire 12-week program is focused on practicing. And again, your body is going to know if you've shown up once a month to practice, once a week to practice, or every day to practice. Like, your body, your nervous system is going to let you know how much you're practicing this thing that really needs to shift for you, because it's what's creating your suffering.
Love that. Yes. And so, of course, this is Marie's comment. Your support helps them see more ways to get unstuck.
Yeah.
So, and again, as you are mentioning, you were practicing doing things
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
Um, and 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 we have to do that in order to shift
Yeah.
that mindset. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over
Yes.
again and expecting
Yep.
a different result.
Yep.
So we know that that doesn't work.
Yep.
And I love the way you brought up the whole idea or your example of relationship, because that is so very true. And I think as women, we're kind of programmed from very
Yes.
young girls that we give. And what that means, in order for us to give for other people, that means we don't give ourselves. And that is so detrimental to our emotional and mental health.
Completely.
Practicing some
Yes.
self-care,
Yes.
regardless of what that looks like.
Yes.
Even saying no, that was my mantra one year. Um, no is a full sentence.
Yep.
We don't,
Yes.
you don't have to rationalize your no. You don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
Just no.
Yep.
And give ourselves boundaries. That is
Yes.
so important to give,
Yep.
to know our own boundaries, know what we do like, what we don't like, and then in a loving, giving, in a loving way, not controversial, just tell people what your boundaries are,
Yep.
what you'll accept, what you won't accept.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's really, yeah, so that's really hard for a lot of people,
Mhm.
especially us as women, because as you shared, this is a learning. And, my philosophy, like where I come at this from, the lens that I come at this work from is like, as women, like we live in a very patriarchal world, in a very
Mhm.
patriarchal society. And yes, us women have been trained and conditioned and programmed to be a particular way, especially when we're in relationship with men. And men have also been programmed and conditioned of how they should be and how they should expect women to be,
Yeah.
right? And so
Mhm.
it's kind of this two part thing where it's like it's kind of coming at us from everywhere. It's not anyone's fault. Like there's nothing wrong with anybody, and no one's doing anything wrong, and it's not anyone's fault. It's just how we've all been
Yeah.
trained and conditioned and
Yeah.
programmed. And so my philosophy is like, well, right, like women are going to continue doing this because that's what we've been taught to do, and that's why we're doing it in the first place. And if we think back 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago to the women, right? And how they were living. And so it's like we there needs to be an unlearning everywhere,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And so learning boundaries, learning how to communicate your boundaries.
Big
That's
one. That's a
a
big
big
one.
one. Learning how to uh, learning how to communicate yourself and express your no, learning how to know what your self needs
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
learning how to take care of yourself. What do I need? What does self care look like for me? I don't even know what that means because I've been taught that's selfish.
Yes.
And then really practicing, those are the big things that we practice. We practice being in conversation with people. We practice setting boundaries. We practice understanding what my needs are. And we practice different ways of how do I communicate? How do I communicate to this person that's been in my life for 30 years that I have this need that they're completely unaware of? Like
Mhm.
how do I tell them that I have that need, and how do I make sure that I get that need met? And what if they don't like it? And what if all these things, right? And it's like, okay, can you let someone else sit in their own discomfort because you have a
Yes.
need,
That's another one. Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
you have a
Absolutely.
need that's going to make someone else uncomfortable because they're not used to you having needs. That's okay. But that doesn't mean that your need is wrong. You're creating a scenario where what you're asking for is creating discomfort in someone else, which is their stuff, not yours. So you don't have to take it on. But we have totally been conditioned to take that on. So it's a huge unlearning. It's
It
a
is.
really big process, and I'm here for it because I think it's so important and
It's
it's
so very
so
important.
necessary.
Well, this has just been a delightful conversation. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Sarah Ann. We have a vision here with the Healing Institute we are a community of expert health practitioners. We customize you need, whatever your need is, from a health point of view. It's not a one fits all. And our motto is service with love.
Mm,
So we have a big ask. We ask that you let people know about the Healing Institute, your family, your friends, your colleagues, your community. Let them know about our amazing practitioners that we have on the website. And also let people know about this podcast. And you got to meet another amazing practitioner today. Sarah Ann Ertz. Thanks so much for being on the podcast today, Sarah Ann.
thank you.